Cartier and Patek Philippe, they're still very mighty. They still make a lot of money. FP Journe is a killer brand. It's really tough to get your hands on one of these watches. Not available to regular people. Even if you take a lot of cash in your pocket and go to the store, they'll probably turn you down. The watch industry did not really appreciate the statement Mr. Harry Stern made after he was pressed for a response. The brand probably is losing its cool. I think Bethune also has the capability to be a challenger brand. I think the number one watch brand could be Patek Philippe came out with Cubitus. That was their first release after more than 2 decades, right? This is arguably the number one brand, a brand that is perched on top even among the holy trinity of Patek Philippe, Vacheron and Audemars Piguet. After having released Cubitus, it was received very badly. Make no mistake, just like the Nautilus and other steel models from Patek Philippe, Cubitus is also trading at a very frothy valuation. Right? It is almost being sold at 2 to 3 times of the retail price. But does it also indicate that the watch brand Patek Philippe is kind of lagging behind? Does it also give you a sign that they are fatigued by the pressure of responding to amazing innovation coming from all corners of the industry? Looking at the lack of innovation coming from Patek Philippe left a lot of watch lovers a bit sad. Now, when all of this is happening, and I feel that Patek in so many years hasn't made as many calibers as somebody like an FP Journe has made. Now, when all of this happens, you question, is there a challenger now? Can a challenger displace Patek as the number one watch brand in the world? Now, when I ask that question, and let's use that as a hypothetical question, which are the brands that could actually challenge the throne that Patek Philippe really sits on? But before we go there, let us look at some criteria. What will really make a brand as the number one brand? Obviously, the love and respect that the brand receives from the watch community, that's number one. The second criteria could be how many calibers, the capability that the brand shows, how many calibers and complicated movements has the brand made. So that could be the second criteria. The third criteria could be the scale at which the brand can really produce and distribute it to the world, because nobody liked the product that they never received. The fourth will be how well these watches are made. Okay, and number 5 would be the history behind the watch itself, the watch brand itself. Now look at some of these things, and let's look at some of the names that could be challengers for Patek Philippe. And I have filtered out some names which I would want you to tell me whether you agree with those or not. I'm just taking 4 brands, all right? And we will evaluate whether one of these brands could be a major challenger to Patek Philippe globally. Let's look at Lange and Söhne first. Very long history, very, very respected watch brand. Yes, there were challenges. The brand was not in functioning for many decades after the Second World War, if I'm not wrong. But its reprise has been amazing, and the work that the watch brand does to its pieces is exquisite. I've done a video earlier. They arguably decorate every component. They put the watch together 2 times, and then only the watch comes to you. It has its own aesthetic, which is very German in its way, and that aesthetic is also loved by a certain class of people very, very much. I love Lange and Söhne. And in terms of technical prowess, I think Lange and Söhne is second to none. They have done actually every complicated movement that you can think of. So Lange and Söhne, it kind of ticks all those boxes. Plus, I think Lange and Söhne, does a sizable number of watches every year. Although I don't think it makes as many number of watches that the Patek Philippe makes, but it is still up there. So Lange and Söhne is a very strong contender. Number 2, let's look at Vacheron. I think Vacheron also has many calibers made in-house. They have displayed that for many, many years. They have one of the longest histories, unbroken history. They have been functioning any break for more than 250 years. And that's a very big distinctive identity and historical factotum Vacheron carries with itself. And this is something that kind of sets it apart as well. They have a certain scale, so they can definitely produce things of the highest quality and still make it available to you. Very, very well finished movements, very well finished watch overall. So Vacheron is also a very strong contender to be seen as the number one watch brand. And their latest release in terms of the re-release of the Triple Two, going back to the 70s, the aesthetic, it was very well received. In yellow gold in 2021, I think. And the one which is the latest release in blue dial, the 222 in steel. That's a big hit, I think. So, and there are other lines, they're very amazing. The overseas is very well respected and a lot of people really want to wear it. Their history, American 1921 is amazing. The patrimony line is amazing. So, Vacheron it's a big hitter. Let's look at de Bethune. I think de Bethune has also shown its prowess in terms of how many calibers it has made in-house, and a very unique design aesthetic, the way that they do their dials and multiple other things. De Bethune has really distinguished itself, and in the watch collector circuit, the real flex is actually now owning something like a de Bethune. I think de Bethune also has the capability to be a challenger brand. The fourth one, Journe. Now, Journe is a living legend himself, the watchmaker. They make 2,000 plus watches in a year, and I mean, it's really tough to get your hands on one of these watches. Not available to regular people. Even if you take a lot of cash in your pocket and go to the store, they'll probably turn you down, because that's how the state of affairs is. The demand is really high and the supply is really low. The supply is low because there's a lot of hard work goes into making some of these watches. Journe is a killer brand because the number of calibers they have made in the short history, which is not more than 2 decades. Within that period, they have created multiple calibers and they make some outstanding watches and very, very technically sound watches. They have done things that have not been done earlier. So I think Journe is also a big challenger brand. But when I look at all these things, the scale, etc., I still think that somebody like Lange and Söhne can be number one watch brand. And for me, actually, it has been the number one watch brand forever. But for the broader audience, I think the number one watch brand could be Lange and Söhne. And I would want to redefine the whole Holy Trinity. And if you were to look at the new Holy Trinity, it should comprise brands like Lange, brands like Journe, and a brand like Vacheron, right? And I think, this whole thing should change over a period of time, because like the watchmakers are working hard at Patek Philippe and Audemars Piguet. Similarly, many other watchmakers are working very, very hard and coming up with new innovations and doing some fantastic stuff. I think the number one title is up for grabs because of the way things have been at Patek Philippe. And I must also mention, the watch industry, the watch enthusiasts did not really appreciate the statement Mr. Thierry Stern made after he was pressed for a response, and this was just after the release of Cubitus. This statement was not very well received, and a very, very arrogant kind of statement. Hence, you might say that, look, the brand probably is losing its cool in a way. It is still a very big, powerful thing because they do $2.8 billion of revenue every year, which is a big number. Rolex does anywhere close to $9 to $10 billion. And the second one is Cartier and Patek Philippe. They're still very mighty. They still make a lot of money. But people decide, if people in their minds make, start thinking that this is not the number one thing and they want to go for other things, then things could change drastically. So yeah, that's that. That was my musing on who could be the number one. And I would love to hear from you. And feel free to criticize, feel free to comment, disagree, agree. That's what keeps this whole effort going, because I want to connect with the fellow watch lovers, observers of luxury, people who want to connect with on subjects like these. So thank you so much for your time. Please like and subscribe this channel. It encourages me to come out with interesting content on subjects of luxury and specifically watches. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dito Speaks Luxury. Thank you.